This is Rich from Georgetown, Indiana, and I listen to Scandal Water while I'm running errands. Ladies?
Welcome to Scandal Water,
where we cover the stories that have captivated the entertainment world.
I'm Candy, a longtime educator and community theater actress.
And I'm Ashley, a writer and co-founder of a local theater group.
We're two friends who share a love of entertainment.
From true crime docuseries to blockbuster movies to classic TV to Broadway shows and everything in between.
Each week, I share a compelling story related to pop culture.
And I chime in using my trivia junkie brain.
We stick to the facts until it's time to settle into our armchairs at the end.
Then we're simply two women with a strong cup of tea and even stronger opinions.
We're Scandal Water.
And if this sounds like your cup of tea,
follow the show on your favorite podcast app or the Scandal Water Podcast YouTube channel.
Oh, it's that time of day. Tune in and hear what the ladies say. It's time to bend your ear when the silver screen appears. Stories about the stage and screen and everything in between. So come on and join the fun. The curtain opens in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, Ashley.
hello.
We are here for our final More Monster Madness
I
episode.
know, I'm kind of sad about it.
I know, I really have enjoyed this theme. I have. Oh, but just as a reminder, next week we will put out a mini-sode related to our theme, but that will be bonus content for people who follow us on Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee. So in terms of the main feed, it will be dark, just as
That's
a
right.
reminder. But let's just review. We've been trading off.
Yes.
You have now chosen two of the topics, King
have.
Kong and last week's Trolls. I chose Dracula, and this is my final pick, which is one that actually we had talked about. Yeah, I think you may have been the one who brought it up first.
I may have, but I was like, oh, I love this choice.
I do too. And let me give you the quick backstory what made me pick it. During our John Grisham episode, we admitted that sometimes we will go down a rabbit trail and waste more time than we should scrolling through social media or getting
Sure.
caught up in something.
Yeah.
Well, something I got caught up in was this YouTube clip that just caught my attention. This has been a while back, but I ended up then looking up like 10 or other related clips because I was so engrossed in this. And what it was Sarah Hyland from Modern Family.
Yeah.
And Andrew Barth Feldman were performing Skid Row together in Times Square on September 19th, 2024 to celebrate the 5th anniversary of the Off-Broadway revival of Little Shop of Horrors. So they starred as Audrey and Seymour in that production. And what happened was I caught that clip of them and I ended up, okay, let me listen to that again.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me see if I can find the whole song.
Oh, it's so
and-
good. The
and-
music is so good.
and then I started, Googling and I found Milo Manheim doing Seymour. And before I knew it,
Did you find the Jake Gyllenhaal and Ellen Green?
I did run across
Ooh,
that.
it's good.
So as we were discussing monsters and thinking about unusual monsters, I was like, Audrey II.
Audrey II.
Audrey II. Talk about a unique monster, but one that is so well known.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people are familiar with Little Shop of Horrors and Audrey II. So that's going to be our topic today. And I'm going to, as usual, start by asking you, what is your background with Little Shop of Horrors?
I have seen the movie. I have seen the play. I did not realize.
Oh, if you're going to give a spoiler, can you hold that? Because that's actually, are you going to talk
yes.
something about the ending?
I was going to talk about the
Can
ending.
we hold that?
Yes, we
'Cause-
can.
Okay.
I was taken by surprise
Okay.
by the ending, let's say.
Yes.
That. And so as I listened to the music and got more familiar with Howard Ashman, I ended up watching a documentary called Waking Sleeping Beauty about the golden age of Disney cartooning
Yes.
and how they revitalized it. Howard Ashman obviously was part of that with The
Absolutely.
Little Mermaid. He also wrote the music and lyrics. It was the same team. I think it was
Alan
the same team.
Menken.
Alan Menken and him did Little Shop of Horrors. And if you listen to it, you can hear a little bit of the song that Ariel sings in Somewhere That's Green. You can hear the
Yes.
same strains. So I became a huge fan of Howard Ashman. And then I was like, oh, if I was only about 20 years younger, I would have loved to have played Audrey.
Oh, wouldn't that have been fun?
Yeah.
Yes. I love that. Well, I thought the film was a hoot. I mean,
Steve Martin as the dentist was pretty funny.
Oh my goodness, especially young Candy, because watching that when it first came out, Steve Martin was a little more prevalent now. Of course, he's big still today, but I think he's got a different vibe,
Yeah.
you know? So back when it first came out, I remember thinking that movie was fantastic. I thought it was so catchy, loved the music, never have seen the stage version, okay? But that dark humor, the background singers.
They're great.
Oh, those background singers. I thought that was genius. And I also remember getting caught up in the romance.
It's so sweet.
I
The
was
suddenly
rooting
Seymour.
hard for them.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Seymour was such a sympathetic character. He really was. So those were a few of my thoughts. And we're going to come back to what you were saying. We'll have a whole conversation about that. It's coming, I promise.
know.
But I was not surprised, but I wasn't really aware of the fact that this whole revival that started in 2019, it's been a thing. Like Little Shop of Horrors is still playing Off-Broadway, and they have had several big name actors rotating through those roles. I looked it up. It's playing right now. And the summary from their website, the website where you can buy tickets, says, when a mild-mannered florist finds a talking, blood-drinking flower, he sees a path to success and romance. This campy horror comedy is a cult classic in person and on the silver screen, and this production won multiple Best Musical Revival awards. Get tickets to this quirky, bloody show blossoming off-Broadway. So that's what's currently on there.
Nice.
But the original musical that started it all debuted in the Off-Broadway WPA Theater on May 6th of 1982, and we are going to go back to the beginning now and talk about how it all started.
Ellen was part of that, right?
She was.
Gosh, I can't imagine a better Audrey. I'm sure that other women have done a phenomenal job, but I just can't imagine. It just feels like it was made for her.
Absolutely iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was iconic in that role. We'll see how much of this you know. It actually started in 1960 with the
Jack
orig-
Nicholson was in the
yes,
film. Mhm,
Yes, I did not know that
I
there
think I've
was
got
a
that
movie.
somewhere. Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh, of course you do.
Is it Roger Corman?
Yes, absolutely.
okay.
It was a movie entitled Little Shop of Horrors,
Yeah.
same title. It was described in a New York Times article as a semi-obscure black comedy film. It was black and white, and it was described as a B movie, directed, as you said, by Roger Corman, filmed in 2 days. 2 days. 5 total if you count rehearsals.
Wow.
But 2 days of actual filming. And a very young Jack Nicholson
Was the
did
dentist?
play. No, he was the patient who came in who liked being treated
okay.
by a dentist.
Okay.
Yes. Very low budget. Not a big hit when it came out, but it ended up being shown on TV a lot and slowly gained a cult following. Which takes us to 1979.
Okay.
When a young composer named Alan Menken and Howard Ashman, a lyricist, playwright, and director, were trying to figure out what project they wanted to work on next.
Wow.
So you've already brought up their names. Some people, like you, recognize these two fellas as being a huge part of the Disney Renaissance. They did create many of the songs that we associate with the Disney classics, The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast. Yeah. So that's what they're going to do later. But at this time, it's actually kind of a low point for them. They were coming off of an off-Broadway musical based on Kurt Vonnegut's novel, God Bless You, Mr. Rosewater, and it had just closed due to a very disappointing run. In fact, at this time, Alan Menken was thinking he might just give up.
Can you imagine what we would have missed out on?
I know. Can you imagine? So he had said, like, this was kind of like he was like, I'm going to give it one more shot. And this is when Howard Ashman called him to suggest they try to develop a low-budget musical based on that 1960 movie, Little Shop of Horrors. Alan Menken, to flesh this out, he said he vowed to himself this was going to be his final shot at musical theater.
Wow.
If it did not work out, he was going to commit himself to writing advertising jingles as his career job.
Thank goodness it worked out.
I know. So in May of 2022, in conjunction with the 40th anniversary of the musical's debut, New York Times journalist Sarah Barr put out a fabulous article that included quotes from all kinds of key players, you know, members of the original cast and crew to some of the people involved with the revivals. So I want to give a shout out to that source. It was great. I'm definitely going to be using some quotes and information that came from her article along with other sources. So check the show notes. But this one came directly from that article. Sadly, Howard Ashman died in 1991 from AIDS, but his sister Sarah, shared this memory of Howard's early proposal. She said, "My husband and I were the only people Howard knew who had the Betamax, and we rented Little Shop, the movie, for us all to watch. Except for Howard, we were appalled. We didn't think it would be a good idea at all to do the show."
It's not. It's the music that makes it so amazing. If you look at just the plot of this, no, it's a terrible idea.
It really was.
It's
Very
terrible.
low budget B movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like you're watching it and you're kind of like, oh, I can see that they did throw this together in 2 days.
Well, even just
that.
just the bones of the plot.
Yes. Well, the rest of her quote says, "Of course, he ignored us entirely. That was Howard's way. When he had a vision for something, he wasn't going to take no for an answer." So, because of that poor response to their play, God Bless You, Mr. Rosewater, Howard had resolved to do 2 things very differently with this particular project. First of all, to keep expenses down, he was determined he was going to have a smaller cast.
Good idea.
Yes, specifically, he wanted to have fewer than 10 characters. And according to Alan Menken, he also wanted the show to, quote, have some kind of element at the heart of it that would be so unusual that it would just demand attention.
That would be the plant.
Absolutely. He already had Alan Menken on board to work on this. Here's a quote from a 1982 Playbill article that shares Alan's initial reaction. Quote, "Menken had never seen the film, but luckily a few weeks after Ashman told him that he would like to make a musical of it, it showed up on cable TV. We videotaped it," Ashman says, "and Alan liked it because it immediately gave him musical ideas. It reeked of the 1960s.
Yes.
So Howard Ashman was the driving force behind the play, taking care of the book, lyrics, and direction of the show, and Alan created the music. A key producer was David Geffen, who would end up being instrumental in the show's success and also what came later. And Kyle Rennick was the producing director who helped get the production launched at the WPA Theater, where he had a leadership role. He also helped secure the rights to Roger Corman's film. So they had a lot of good people working on this.
Yeah.
But still, it was not smooth sailing for Little Shop. Howard and Alan took a stab at it, and they felt like their first attempt to write the show was a fail. But the good news was they learned from it.
Okay, they knew what to do.
Here is a brief soundbite from an interview that Alan gave to Broadway World where he talks about this.
I remember when the first time he took a crack at that musical, it was very influenced by Roger Corman's movie. It was very jazzy and kind of dark and quirky, and we played it for people, and they went, "What in the world is this?" And then Howard came in and said, "I think I got it. This has got to be the dark side of Grease. It's got to be, we're going to pull on Phil Spector rock and roll and girl groups, and boom, it all just came together in an amazing way."
What a great way to advertise that, the dark side of Grease.
Perfect.
It makes perfect sense.
Perfect. And then bringing in that rock and roll and the girl group, that was the magic. Absolutely.
Doo-wop.
I loved it. So, as we heard, Alan decided for their music, they were going to focus on the early 1960s musical style, especially the girl group sound. But he did go on to say part of that was because he thought it had a very dark, menacing ring to it. He felt like he could kind of take it there, right?
It's a dark story.
Yeah. And they decided that these 3 girls were going to function as a Greek chorus commenting on the action.
Yes.
Basically, they were a girl group based on the Ronettes and the Shirelles. And of course, they were basically serving as the narrators of the story.
Yes.
Howard said in an interview that once they found their approach, they finished writing the play in about 8 weeks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, once you have it, once you're locked in, no problem.
All of a sudden, it just comes together. A fun side note is that Alan's dad was not only a dentist, but actually president of the New York chapter of the American Analgesia Society, which is a society of dentists who promote the safe use of nitrous oxide.
Oh, dear. He's like, really, son?
Alan said his father actually provided the slides for the "Look, Seymour, this could happen to you" part. I think for the movie is what we're talking about. But anyway, when they had the script in place, they started to put their production together as quickly and as economically as they could, which meant that Alan ended up being the one who played the piano in the show himself.
That's amazing.
And they did not cast any big name actors. Couldn't afford it. Lee Wilkoff beat out Nathan Lane for the role of Seymour. And at that time, Nathan Lane wasn't a big name.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was before his breakout. So, but he was up for it. And in an interview published on the Playbill site, here's Ellen Green recalling her original audition for the role of Audrey. Quote, "When I went in for Little Shop, he and Alan," that's Howard and Alan, were behind a table in a small room with a piano to my left. I read, and my Audrey voice just came out. I never planned it. Then I asked to sing Green, and they were surprised that I knew it. But Alan went behind the piano, and what followed next felt like magic. As Alan played and I sang Somewhere That's Green, my eyes and Howard's eyes welled up, and there was this quiet after. It was palpable. I knew then I would know and love these two men for the rest of my life. There was a love unspoken between us.
Oh my goodness. It's so beautiful. The way she sings that, there's so much feeling and emotion.
Oh, yeah.
I can't even imagine what it'd been like to hear that for the first time.
Yeah.
You know how people say, I wish I could hear that for the first time all over again? What a moment.
And how even more powerful for them, because they're the ones who created this, and then this woman walks in and fulfills their vision better than they probably even anticipated.
Yes.
Well, by the way, Ellen has dark curly hair.
Really? Was it a wig then?
Yes, 100%. And in fact, you remember in the original movie, Audrey's a brunette. So they didn't even want Audrey to be a blonde. But she had the suggestion, and Howard was a little reluctant, but basically was like, well, you know, we'll give it a try. And so she came in one day, dolled up, wig, makeup, clothing, everything she envisioned for the character. And once they saw her
They
made
said
up
yes.
like that, they rolled with it.
Yes.
So, of course, the most significant character in the story was also the trickiest. They had to figure out how to bring Audrey II to life.
Right. If they don't have that much money, how did they do this?
Yeah, it's crazy. So they knew they needed an expert in puppetry. And according to Kyle Rennick, they were incredibly fortunate that one of the first people they interviewed was Martin Robinson, a professional actor and puppeteer who worked for the Muppets and also played Mr. Snuffleupagus on Sesame Street.
I hadn't thought about this, but for the people who may not have ever heard of this, seen this, should we describe what the plant is? Because you and I are talking as if
everybody knows.
As if everybody knows.
Go ahead, fill them in.
Okay, so the plant is what Seymour finds, and throughout the play, it gets larger. And it starts, if I'm remembering right, it starts where it's a puppet where he can hold it and he operates it. So he's holding like a little potted plant, and Seymour's hand goes up and he operates it. I think the second iteration is where it's sitting on a countertop, and then it's I don't know how it's operated, but it's on a countertop. Is it the third?
Oh, I couldn't tell you
I
exactly.
don't remember. Well, the final, I don't know if it's the third or what number it is, but it is enormous.
Enormous.
And you usually have a person who is the voice of Audrey II and a person who is the puppeteer. And I think eventually the puppeteer is like the tongue and operates inside of it because it's
and it takes more than one person to operate it.
Yes, it's as big as a room. The puppet becomes that large.
Absolutely.
So that's why we're talking about me asking how did they have the money for this, is because how did you envision a puppet this large?
Yeah, it was a huge undertaking.
And it kind of looks like a succulent. It's like a Venus flytrap kind of plant.
Absolutely. Nice work there, Ashley, especially
Thanks.
off the top of your head.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
That's why you hire me.
So you get the big bucks.
That's right.
Yeah. So Martin was the man who designed the very first
Audrey II.
iterations of Audrey II. Yeah, he figured out how to show that plant's growth across the course of the play, just as we were saying. Kyle commented that Martin, or Marty as they called him, turned out to be ideal for the job because, first of all, he was a huge fan of the 1960 movie, but also he had been so intrigued by it that he came into this project with dozens of sketches of Audrey II that he had done on his own before this job was ever offered to him.
That's cool.
Isn't
That's
that
initiative.
crazy? Yes. So he began to develop the Audrey II puppet working out of his apartment. Martin remembered, quote, I started with the imagery in the Corman film, but I made the shape a little more sophisticated, with curved, sharp teeth hidden on the inside that you didn't see until she started talking. It's carpeted inside with a red, hairy interior. It was a workout moving those arms, but I was 28 and I was jacked. I see pictures of myself back then and say, OMG. Now, this is when it was in the big form, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So you just said that but Audrey II is voiced by a man. And I guess we should clarify, Seymour names it Audrey II after Audrey.
Because he's got a crush on her.
Yeah, because he has a
even
crush.
though
So
she's got a boyfriend.
Yes.
Absolutely.
He's discovered this plant and he says, I'm going to call it the Audrey II.
That's something that I came across in the sources. It talked about the fact that because her name, the plant's name, was Audrey II, like just as we heard in Martin's quote, you will see and hear it referred to
As
the
a
plant
she.
as she, but it is definitely a male voice. So it's a little confusing, but yeah, I think you'll see it referred to both ways. Yeah. Well, Martin, for this original, production, he ended up creating 4 Audrey II plants that
Four
of them that progressively scaled up in size. And in this original run, he operated all of them, is what it said. But I think you're correct that Seymour took care of it, like in that when it was in
the first one.
Small stage. Yes. For the voice of Audrey II, they hired a man named Ron Taylor, whose powerful voice fit their vision for the killer plant. Ellen Menken said, quote, "We wanted the plant to have a deep New Orleans funky kind of sound." So they liked his voice.
Okay, I just have an answer, guys. Sorry, I was Googling as Candy was talking. Venus flytraps are not gender specific. They are hermaphroditic, meaning each individual plant possesses both male and female stamens. So that's why they did it.
Interesting. Oh, isn't that funny? They are so thoughtful about all the elements, aren't they?
Okay, back on the airplane. Sorry, I just had to have the answer to that. I was like, it's gonna bother me. Okay, keep going.
Well, after 2 weeks of previews, the play opened on May 20th of 1982 and was a smash hit. Alan commented that people just went absolutely crazy, and the actor who played Seymour, Lee Wilkoff, recalled that in his career he had never experienced anything like the incredible performance that they had that first night. According to that same New York Times article I've mentioned several times, after only 1 month of performances at the WPA, which seated 98 people, Little Shop was moved off-Broadway to the 347-seat Orpheum.
That's a big jump.
It is a big jump, but I'll just go ahead and say this now. It's later in my notes. Along the way, I believe several times Howard Ashman and Alan were given the opportunity of moving this to Broadway.
And they didn't want to do
it? And Howard always maintained he wanted it kept in a smaller theater because Audrey's size. Audrey II's size needed to be impressive, imposing, and the intimacy of that smaller theater he felt was important to the storytelling and to the audience feeling it.
Interesting.
You know? Yeah. We moved off Broadway to the Orpheum. And when it closed there in November of 1987, it was the third longest running musical and the highest grossing production in off-Broadway history at that time.
Wow.
Yeah. And by that time, there was also a movie.
Yeah.
Which we'll come back to after the break.
Okay. We love including listener voices in our episodes, and we're always looking for more. So tell us, where do you sip your scandal water? Do you catch up on the tea while folding your laundry, sitting at your work desk, working out at the gym? Let us know by sending in your shout out, telling us your first name, your hometown, and where you are or what you're doing when you're listening to Scandal Water. And you just might hear a voice you recognize starting one of our upcoming episodes. Email your audio clip to scandalwaterpodcast@gmail.com. The voice memo app on your phone will work just fine. Cheers!
And we're back. So the film version of Little Shop of Horrors came out in 1986 and was rated PG-13. Howard Ashman adapted his own stage script to create the screenplay, and the director was Frank Oz.
Oh, perfect.
Who we know from his work on The Muppets, and he was the creator of Yoda and so many other things. But yes,
Perfect
I did not
director.
realize that.
I didn't either.
Absolutely. Perfect choice. Yeah. In a 2012 Entertainment Weekly article, Frank gave a little background on how the directing gig came about. He said he was offered the job by producer David Geffen, but initially turned it down because he had a hard time imagining how he could move the story from stage to screen.
Yeah.
But a few weeks later, Frank had a huge aha moment, realizing that the trio, we referred to earlier as the Greek chorus, of Crystal, Ronette, and Chiffon was the answer for him. What he decided was making these three story narrators basically kind of magical, such as letting them walk through rain without it falling on them, letting them
A true
appear.
Greek chorus kind
Yes,
of thing.
absolutely. That's what opened things up for him cinematically. He restructured the script. Now, he did not mess with dialogue. He honored the meat of it, but he restructured it and added in songs, removed songs, basically trying to capture his vision for the film version. And then he took it to David and Howard Ashman, who said, let's do it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
They were okay with it.
Absolutely. So according to Frank Oz, Rick Moranis, who had gained a lot of great attention for his recent role in Ghostbusters, had already been cast as Seymour when they were discussing the role of Audrey. Frank really wanted Ellen Greene, the same woman we've been talking about, the one who originated the role of Audrey. And by this point, she'd been killing it on stage for, 3 or 4 years. He said he really could not imagine anyone else doing the role.
I can't. I cannot.
But you know who David Geffen wanted?
Who?
Cyndi Lauper.
No. No, David, we're going to ignore you. No shade to Cindy, but you're not Audrey.
Yeah. Well, Frank pushed for Ellen, and he was granted permission to screen test her with Rick Moranis. And it was the combination of their great screen test along with Cyndi Lauper's scheduling conflicts that sealed the deal.
Oh, good.
Okay, Ellen got the
And
role.
I can understand why, Cindy, because she would have been a huge name at the
She
time.
would have
It would
been,
have. You're thinking
absolutely.
financially, it would have sold the movie. I get it, but it's not the right choice.
Yeah. So, of course, we've already said the movie also featured Steve Martin in the role of Audrey's sadistic dentist boyfriend. And Frank credits Steve as being the one who decided to play that dentist Orrin as an Elvis-type character, which he said he thought was brilliant.
It was brilliant.
It was. Levi Stubbs, lead singer of the Motown group The Four Tops, was cast as the voice of Audrey II.
Okay.
Also thanks to Frank Oz. He said in an interview that some people were reluctant to cast Levi Stubbs because they didn't think he was funny, to which Frank Oz commented, "But I didn't want funny.
Right.
I wanted someone who had danger in their voice."
Yes.
He was brilliant.
He was.
Yeah.
This is not a comic side piece. This is the villain of the show.
Right. Yes. The film also boasted a number of famous cameos, including, I'm sure you can name some of them. Do you remember?
Christopher Guest is one
Christopher
of them.
Guest. He was the first plant customer, the one who came in to buy. Yeah. And then we had John Candy as the DJ,
Oh, I forgot that.
Bill Murray as the eager dental patient, and Jim Belushi was a marketing executive.
Oh, I didn't remember those. I just remembered Christopher Guest.
Yeah. But of course, the star of the show was again Audrey II. And the man-eating plant was even trickier to pull off in the film version than she was on stage. A Hollywood Reporter article said it was, quote, possibly the most complicated puppet in showbiz history
I
at that
do
point.
not doubt it. I
Yeah.
don't doubt it.
Yeah. Because, I mean, we have to remember, there was no CGI.
Yeah.
And on top of that, nothing like this Audrey II puppet had ever been created before. So they had to figure out all of it themselves. I mean, from the start. And also how to operate Audrey II at all the different
In a film.
sizes. Yes, in a film, right. Frank Oz said it took 25 to 30 people to operate Audrey II when she was at her largest. Wow. And he added, quote, there was one person inside the head, and there was a steel girder from the back of the head to the back of the shop, which we hid. Then there were puppeteers below working the vines.
But again, Frank Oz is the perfect person for this.
Absolutely.
With his expertise with the Muppets.
And on top of all that, they said there was an even bigger challenge. Getting the full-size Audrey II to sing the high-tempo song, Mean Green Mother from Outer Space. And making sure everything was lip-synced. The motions, the mouth, all of it. Frank Oz, again, he gave a lot of interviews when, in conjunction with different anniversaries. This one comes from a Hollywood Reporter article. And he said in this, quote, I wanted absolute perfect lip sync. No mistakes at all. Lyle Conway, who was identified as the creature designer, by the way, was so brilliant in making the plant. But we did not know how to make it work for fast songs. That is, until we realized while watching a tape rewind at a faster speed that we could shoot slower and it would look normal on playback. So Levi sang the song normal in pre-recording. Then I would shoot the plant at 12 frames per second when the usual is 24. I would shoot Rick separately at 24 frames per second. And then I would shoot Rick and the plant together at 18 frames per second.
Gosh.
On playback, it looked normal. So Rick had to sing and move in slow motion.
Oh, man.
We averaged about 25 to 30 takes every time to get it perfect.
Wow.
That's for one song.
Wow.
I mean, isn't it crazy to think about what you
All
have
the
to
math.
do? Yeah, we're watching a song that probably lasted 2 minutes?
Yeah.
And the work and the ingenuity that
But
it
look
took.
how long it's lasted.
That's crazy. Frank said one mistake he made, and it was a big one, related to the ending, which we're going to come back to for our
I don't
armchair.
think it was a mistake. I can't handle it.
Okay, all right. That's going to be our whole armchair.
Okay,
So
okay.
just get ready. All right.
Okay.
But for now, let's just talk briefly about what happened after the movie's release. It was a huge hit. We all remember that. Even more so later due to home box office.
Oh, yeah.
And it took no time at all before it achieved the status of being a cult classic. It's nominated for 2 Oscars, one for Best Visual Effects and one for Best Original Song, which was Mean Green Mother from Outer Space. And then, kind of looking across time, Little Shop opened for the first time on Broadway in 2003. Again, It could have probably done it much sooner, but Howard Ashman always declined, right? But in 2003, it opened, did well. In fact, it ran for a few years. And then again, over time, there have been revivals in the UK. There were those 2015 encores, which I think is when we saw Jake Gyllenhaal.
I don't know if he may have been in the show, but I saw him and Ellen was a staged reading, and it was so cool. It was one of those bootleg copies, but she did not have any script or music on her music stand.
Oh, really?
And other people, you could see, because you could see down, and he had, I don't know if he had the script, but other people had the script. She did not. She just
did not need
it.
it.
No, she did not.
need
Because
it.
she still had it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, there was a 2016 Australian tour. There have been U.S. regional productions. And of course, that brings us to this Off-Broadway revival that we talked about at the top of the episode. The show opened in 2019 with Jonathan Groff in the role of Seymour.
That's so cool.
I know. And Tammy Blanchard was Audrey. And of course, as we've said, they have changed those lead actors multiple times over the past 7 years, but it is still currently going strong. And you guys, it has been 44 years since that show first opened.
Staying power.
Yes.
Armchair psychologist.
And that brings us to the armchair.
Okay.
All right. So I know Ashley is ready for this. Ashley, okay, spoiler alert, everybody.
Yeah,
Ashley,
super-
how does the stage version of Little Shop end?
Shockingly, I had only seen the movie. So for Brian's birthday or something, because he's always loved this play, I bought tickets. We went to see it on stage.
Nice.
I sobbed my eyes out at the end because no one had warned me that they all die.
Yes.
They all die. They all get eaten by the plant.
Do you know when Candy first discovered this?
When?
Researching this play.
No kidding?
I've never seen the stage version and nobody had ever spoiled it for me.
I saw it at the Kentucky Center, and then Laura and I went to see it at Derby Dinner. So I was ready when I went to see it at Derby Dinner.
Yeah.
I was not ready. Brian had not, I guess he hadn't thought to tell me, but I was devastated.
I can't believe I've never heard this.
The break your heart of it all is she sings a reprise of Somewhere That's Green as she's being fed to sometime. Maybe now I'll finally be somewhere that's green. I'm like, come on now. Come on now. Come on.
Melodramatic.
It was
but
devastating.
Also, yes, but also very effective.
It was very, and I understand. I'm sure that's like the purist, like, oh, it needs to end in the tragedy. She deserved a happy ending. She deserved it.
Yeah.
Poor, you've had so much sympathy for the two of them, and then the plant gets to win?
Well, okay, so hold that thought because you're going to be coming back with more of that in just a second.
Okay, I'm going to...
Here's what I discovered. Frank and Howard had every intention of following the stage version's ending.
And then they showed it to
when
people, and people
they-
lost their minds, right?
Absolutely.
Right?
This
Because
is
the
what
people know. The people know.
Well, here's how it all played out, okay? But by the way, Frank actually wanted to take it further. He was not only going to have the two leads killed by Audrey II. In his movie version, after the deaths of Seymour and Audrey, his plan was to go on and show Audrey II and her fellow alien plants taking over the world.
No.
Huge ending. Big production scene. Okay, now... Producer David Geffen, not a fan of this.
He made a mistake with Cindy, but he was right here.
He felt the movie should have a happy ending,
should.
but he agreed to let these men follow their vision.
Okay.
So they filmed their ending, took a lot of special effects work. In fact, Frank commented that it was almost a year of work in that went into that ending because so much of it was special effects. Audrey and the plants taking over the world, right? Now, in a few different interviews, exactly what you said. Frank Oz has shared that their first preview of the film was held in San Jose. The production team super excited. Frank commented he thought it was the most expensive film Warner Brothers had done up to that time. They're waiting to see this audience reaction. Across the different interviews, of course, Frank has talked about this. I've pulled a few quotes from a few different sources, but here's what he said in his words. I remember seeing the heads of the studio in front of me. Everyone was applauding after every number. They were absolutely loving it. It was just fantastic until we killed our two leads.
Yep.
When Rick and Ellen died, it became an icebox.
Yeah.
I could just feel it.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sitting here thinking of reasons why as you're saying that. And I don't know if you want me to weigh in now.
You can. I'm going to
Okay.
tell you what he said about it too, but
Okay, so I'm thinking in my head, why was it so successful on Broadway with that tragic ending, but not in film? And I think the difference is perspective. In the theater, it's theatrical. They're further away. You're not seeing close-ups. You're not getting into their emotions and feelings. In film, we're right up in their faces. We're getting to know them. We're getting to love them. We're a part of this. And then you're in their hopes and dreams, and you're seeing her little eyes welling up as she's singing about it. And then you kill her and you steal all of that.
Yeah.
It's just, it would crush. It would crush.
And he did mention, you are correct, that he felt like part of it was that people were so invested in that couple
and their happiness
and their relationship. Absolutely. But we're going to come back to that in just a second. Let me finish this little preview part, because what happened was Frank explained that the procedure at that time, when you held a preview, you gained feedback, of course, from your audience. And this included asking if they would recommend the movie. Now, in order for the studio heads to approve releasing this movie, you needed 55% of the audience to respond, yep, we would recommend this.
They didn't.
They got 13%. 13%. Frank said he convinced Warner Brothers to let him hold another preview. They agreed. The second preview held in Los Angeles. Results about the same.
Wow.
This time, Frank said it might have been 16%. So Howard and Frank knew they had to cut that ending. They had to create
now,
one
were they
that was
saying,
more...
did the audience just say, or did they realize this is the problem?
Oh, no,
when they were giving
the feedback was,
okay.
And it was the same way. Like, they had the audience cheering throughout the entire movie, and then just cold, just absolutely turned off at this ending. So they did not like it, but Howard and Frank, they brought the cast and crew back to London. For 6 weeks, they shot their happy ending, the one we all remember from the movie. And he was asked in an interview, were you dissatisfied with this? And Frank admitted creatively, yes, it was very dissatisfying to him and Howard both that they could not hold true to the original story ending, but they both recognized it was the right thing to do. In an Entertainment Weekly interview, Frank said, "But it's a lesson learned, because when the plant kills Seymour and Audrey on stage, the actors afterwards take a bow. The difference is in movies, they don't take a bow.
That's it.
They're
yes.
gone.
Yes.
And so the audience lost the people they loved, as opposed to the theater audience, where they knew the two people who played Audrey and Seymour were still alive."
That's such a good point. Yes.
Yeah, but he also did talk exactly to your point about the investment in them and how much you were rooting for this relationship. So obviously they were disappointed with the way things went with their ending, but we're very pleased with the great response the movie then received and the massive cult following it gained. So for quite some time, that original ending was referred to as the lost ending.
Oh, did somebody find it?
Well, here's what happened. When they made the revision, in Frank's words, they had to, quote, take out the tape, and then we had to reshoot the new ending and then retape that for another preview. So therefore, after the Los Angeles preview, there was no color ending, that original. It did not exist because we had to take it apart. So when they came back later and they wanted to release that original ending, all they had was black and white.
Oh,
Until in 2012, they took that black and white copy of the original color ending, this dupe, they called it, and they figured out how to colorize it. They released in 2012 a director's cut version, they called it, even though technically it was not a director's cut.
Yeah, it was the original version.
Right.
Yeah.
But they, again,
how was it received? Was it received well? Or was it like, how many times do we have to tell you?
So it's interesting that you say that, because I went and I found Amazon where they're selling this director's version.
Did you
and
look
I
at the
opened it
comments?
up and looked at some comments. And it's funny because recent comments say things that the perspective does seem different. Now, these are the people who took the time to write comments,
Sure.
right? This certainly does not represent every person out there. But I saw things like, I wish they'd been allowed to do this. This does honor the stage version. I think today we would be fine. Like, those people seem to believe that times have changed and maybe it's a little different now.
No.
So
No. If the question is, what ending did you prefer? Happy. She needs her she, more than even Seymour, needs her happy ending, and it's not getting eaten by a plant. That's not it.
So you've already answered my question. I was going to say, what are your thoughts? Would it have been better if Frank and Howard had been allowed to keep their original ending?
As much as I love both of those men, I admire them, they can be wrong sometimes. Look at me, a nobody in a podcast going, hey, giants of film and Broadway, you're wrong. But it's just, I can't.
I loved the happy ending. I'm not going to
loved
lie.
it.
I loved the happy ending.
She needed it.
But this did make me think, because it's funny, if somebody asked me to describe the movie Little Shop of Horrors, yes, I would probably say things like, well, it's fun, it's campy, it's over the top, it's a love story. And I don't know that I would automatically say it's a monster movie or it's a horror story. And part of that is because the film, which was the only thing I've ever seen, really did leave me with all the good vibes.
It's a tragedy.
Yeah.
Isn't that what Shakespeare says? If somebody gets married at the end, it's a comedy, and if they die at the end, it's a tragedy.
Oh, well, yeah.
I don't know if that's true or
Yeah.
not. Sorry, Shakespeare people who are like, she's so wrong.
But at the same time, I think it's also an homage to those 1950s movies where you had the aliens coming in,
Yeah.
because Audrey II did have the whole alien
She was an
connection,
alien.
right? And I think that what they try to do, again, not having seen the stage version, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the original movie probably, which I've also not seen in its entirety, but probably the original stage version and original movie were more about following that campy B-movie, alien 1950s horror movie genre, or those tropes. And then the film probably went more the route of
Love story.
Yeah, love story. And so I do wonder, here's what it makes me want to do. I want to go see the play now. I want to go, I mean, of course I'm dreaming. I would love to go see that off-Broadway production.
Yeah.
And
To see what you think about it.
yeah. And is it okay? You know, like, I mean, like, am I going to be all right with them killing Audrey and Seymour? I don't think I am.
No.
I don't think I am.
Seriously, the first time I saw it, not knowing, sobbed. I don't remember anything else about the experience other than I was brokenhearted.
Yeah.
And I thought, I did this to myself. I bought these tickets.
How did Brian react? Did he like?
Fine. I think he knew. I think he knew
He
the
knew
ending.
it was coming.
Yeah, he knew it was
so
coming.
if you're prepared for it, it
I
changes
guess
it.
it's fine.
Yeah.
It was not fine.
It was not fine.
I don't know how to express adequately how devastated I was for her.
Well, I'm going to tell you my shock when I read in these sources that they died at the end. I was like, what? What are you talking about? Yeah. All right. Well, that brings us to the end. So, I mean, a big cheers to Howard Ashman, first of all, and Alan Menken, who was
Yeah.
his partner in that, and our original cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Cheers.
Cheers to you guys.
And since we love the movie version so much, cheers to them as well.
Absolutely.
If you love what we do, please rate and review our show or become a supporter through Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon. Whether a single gift or recurring monthly donation, your support is what allows us to keep the tea brewing.
Subscribe on your favorite podcast app or the Scandal Water Podcast YouTube channel. And follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Show notes are available at our website, scandalwaterpodcast.com, where you can also access the merch store and more.
This episode was executive produced by Candy Thomas, that's me, and Ashley Raymer Brown.
That's me.
It was researched and written by Candy Thomas and edited by Ashley Raymer Brown.
A special thank you to Josh Martin, who wrote, composed, and performed the Scandal Water theme and other music, Matt C. Adams, who created the artwork, and Joshua Reith, who designed our website and provides ongoing technical support.
As a reminder, this podcast is purely for entertainment purposes. The thoughts and opinions of the host during each episode of Scandal Water are their own and do not reflect the opinions of any future guests, advertisers, or clearly professional psychologists. Thanks for listening.